what is D&D? They're motivated by malice and greed, so they like to kill things and they like to acquire. Isn't that what adventurers are? Isn't that what monsters do? I mean, come on, how can you get better than that? I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
Now let's fight to see who's better, kobolds or goblins.
So I want to say that this video has been inspired by a trend that was going on TikTok a while ago. I thought it was kind of funny. And also it's like talking about some things that are near and dear to our hearts as D&D players and gamers. And that is kobolds and goblins and what team you fall on, Team Kobold or Team Gob Squad. Actually, I'm just going to show a video from Hello Operator from TikTok, and I'll also put a link down in the description. And after we see what Hello Operator has to say, me and Ted are going to start weighing in on what team we're on.
I did not want to do this, but you people woke up this morning and chose violence. Summa Duma Luma, you assuming that I'm human, what I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm goblin. You hear this beat? I got you bobbling. Step to us, you leave you hobbling. Kobolds can't hold the candle. Gob Squad's too much to handle. Cause now you're messing with the original Vandal. This ain't a war, it's a scandal. And anyone wanna jump on the wagon, sit your ass down or fill up a flagon. Cause this battle's more than you can imagine. Go back home and sip on your dragon. Hashtag Gob Squad.
All right. So the question is, Ted, which is better and why?
All right. So we gotta break down, what is the kobold, what is the goblin, and see which one is better. All right. So there's lots of really cool things to, look at. I'm going to go with Team Goblin. And whether you're talking about it from, a player character, whether you're talking about it from a DM, goblins are just great. They're really into the whole aspect of, what is D&D? They're motivated by malice and greed, so they like to kill things and they like to acquire. Isn't that what adventurers are? Isn't that what monsters do? I mean, come on, how can you get better than that?
You just equated goblins to being adventurers, essentially. I'm going Team Kobold all the way. Unlike goblins, like they have the lifespan of a fruit fly, kobolds are long-lived, and they can become great worms.
Essentially, yeah, sure, they can become great worms.
Not to mention they do have the power of the many.
All right, well, goblins, they're led by the smartest and the strongest. The goblin boss is pretty much, the biggest, the meanest, the smartest, who's like, all right, this is the one that we're going to follow because they're the best.
Well, that may be true for the leaders of the goblins, but kobolds are builders, trap makers, and tunnelers, right? So you know what that means? The lowest of the low kobolds are already smart. It's probably smarter than goblin bosses.
All right, well, we'll circle back to that one later on in this video. Sure. Well, kobolds are not the only ones who, make things. They design their lairs. The goblins, based on the size of the goblin, so that they can get in and sneak in and even crawl their way through where the typical adventurers can't get to. So they can take your stuff and get away without the typical adventurer being able to follow.
Yeah, well, while your goblins are busy crawling around through the muck and the dirt, kobolds are busy revering dragons and their god, Kuturmok, who is the vassal, of Tiamat guarding the Nine Hells.
I will give you credit. Kurtulamak is really cool as a kobold deity. There's definitely a spot that's near and dear in my heart to him. But you know what? I just don't feel that's quite enough because he's really low on the deity scale. And I mean, when we look at Tiamat, yeah, she's a goddess of dragons, but, throughout the editions, that's really been, not always a deity, more like, just a really powerful dragon. Goblins, on the other hand, serve, Magoubliette, which I know for a fact that you were playing a character serving, Magoubliette and died in service too. So I know that you like that particular deity.
Damn, using my own characters against me, Ted, that's pretty low. But let me just leave off with this final fact about kobolds. Kobolds have a winged version of kobolds. So some kobolds can even fly with their dragon-like wings.
You know what? I've seen kobolds fly many times. All you got to do is just grab them by their tail and throw them, and poof, But, while that is fun and all, Goblins have built-in lore where they have affinity towards rats and wolves, working with them, whether they be, riding, using them as servants. And it goes even further than that, because you could build your own set of goblinoids that go in a different direction, as I have done in my games, as opposed to them following wolves. What if they had a more affinity towards spiders, since they kind of live in the ground and underground? I think you could have a lot of fun going in that direction. Goblin spider riders could be pretty darn awesome, if you ask me.
Or goblin spider food, whatever the case may be.
In most goblin cases, it does work that way. All right, so before we get into the mechanical aspect of, the goblins versus kobolds, I'm going to take a moment here to say that we're going to put a poll over on our Patreon to let you weigh in on whether you decide I won the argument or Dave won the argument. So why not, help us keep the channel going by supporting us on Patreon and all the awesome content we do there.
But hey, if you decide to go over there, not only fill out the poll, but become a Patreon, you'll receive 5e rewards for DMs and players alike. We're making drop-in encounters, magic items that we sometimes turn into print and play cards, spells, races, subclasses, feats, you name it. We're probably making it over there, as well as a chance to game with Nerdarchy. We'll put a link in the description, one of these cards up here, for a free download sampler that you can check out.
All right, so I'm going to pull out my handy-dandy monster manual and, kind of look at, the difference between kobolds and goblins mechanically.
And I'm just going to pull it up on D&D Beyond.
All right, so when I look at goblin, they're a challenge quarter, strength 8, dex 14, con 10, intelligence 10, wisdom 8, charisma 8. Not a whole lot going on. They got nimble escape that allows them to disengage or hide as a bonus action on each of its turns. Pretty decent as a small humanoid that are neutral evil.
All right, so kobolds, we've got a challenge of an 8th, so, they're half as challenging as goblins one-on-one, but thankfully there's tons and tons of kobolds, and, you out of one egg, you hatch like 50 kobolds anyway. Everybody knows that. Strength is a 7, dex 15, con 9, intelligence 8, 7 wisdom, and a 8 charisma. They have sunlight sensitivity, but they don't like to leave their holes anyway. And, it's just an excuse to wear sunglasses and be cool. And they also have pack tactics.
So the pack tactics, I think, is the only thing that's really going to be your saving grace. Because, as you mentioned, they're literally half of what the goblin is. Goblins are stronger, goblins are tougher, goblins are more intelligent, and they're wiser. Despite the kobolds having this, lore of their trap makers. I wonder how many traps that they make are killing themselves with that 7 wisdom. Their dexterity is the only thing that's better, but it's literally the same modifier, so it only matters in the case of a tie.
Well, all of that may be true, Ted. Let me tell you, there is also a Kobold Dragon Shield, which is a CR1. There are Kobold Inventors. They literally invent stuff. It's right in the name. They are a quarter. There are Kobold Scout Sorcerer, which are a CR1. So we do have some other options for our tougher versions of kobolds.
So the tougher kobolds manage to, kind of pair up to the goblin boss, who is a challenge 1 as well. So there might be some more kobolds out there, but I don't know. I still think goblins, while there's not enough variety, here, there's more goblins out there. I think goblins are absolutely better. And the real, I guess, the icing on the cake is go ahead and look at what's on your arm there. Is that a goblin tattoo? The symbol of Nerdarchy?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ted. You see nothing.
So how about right here then? Literally the goblin bomber is our icon. So how could we possibly say that kobolds are better than goblins?
Well, it doesn't matter what we say. The question is, what do you folks say? Go check out the poll. Let us know what you think is better, kobolds or goblins. What team are you on? Links will be down in the description, of course. But on your way down to the description and past there, go to the comments and let us know what you think. You can even let us know over there, if you prefer kobolds or goblins and why. Which one would you play as a player race?
While you're down there, don't forget to do all those fun things like share, subscribe, even go ahead and click on that notification bell. You know the drill.
Quick reminder, we drop new videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so come on back. But you can't wait till then. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Up here, there's a card. Top 10 Tiny Terrors of D&D. More little monsters to threaten your players with.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.